going on, guys? Brock from BC Brokerage here. Today I want to talk about the impact that tobacco ratings can have in life insurance. So one thing that can have a surprisingly large impact on life insurance pricing is how someone is classified from a nicotine or smoking standpoint. Most people know that smoking can increase premiums, but many don't realize just how significant that difference can be. In many cases, being classified as a tobacco user can double or even triple the cost of life insurance compared to non-tobacco rates. And this is one of those areas where the difference isn't just noticeable, it can be dramatic. Two people with very similar profiles, same age, same health history, applying for the same amount of coverage can end up with very different premiums simply based on how they're classified from a tobacco standpoint. And it's not just traditional cigarette smoking that can lead to a tobacco classification. Different insurance companies have different guidelines, but this can include things like cigars, chewing tobacco, vaping, nicotine pouches, and other forms of nicotine use. Another area that comes up more frequently now is marijuana use, and this is where things can get a little more nuanced. Some companies treat marijuana separately from tobacco, while others still factor it into underwriting in a similar way, depending on frequency of use. For example, occasional use might be treated differently than more frequent use, and different carriers have very different approaches. One of the bigger considerations, especially with marijuana, is whether it's being used recreationally or for medical purposes. If someone has a medical marijuana prescription, underwriters are often going to want to understand what the condition is that's being treated. It's not just about the marijuana use itself, it's about the underlying health condition that led to the prescription. So even if the marijuana use on its own might not be viewed negatively, the medical reason behind it can absolutely influence how the case is evaluated. Because of this, underwriting questionnaires tend to ask fairly detailed questions about both nicotine and marijuana use. Things like how often someone uses, what type they use, and when they last used can all affect how they're classified in underwriting. Another important thing to understand is that these classifications are usually or can be tied to a look-back period. For many companies, someone typically needs to be nicotine-free for at least 12 months before they can qualify for non-tobacco rates. However, some insurers may require a longer period depending on the rate class and the type of use, especially when it comes to qualifying for the best rate classes. Another piece people don't always realize is that a tobacco classification isn't necessarily permanent. If someone stops using nicotine, they can often request rate reconsideration after the required period of time has passed. This usually involves confirming that nicotine use has stopped and sometimes completing new underwriting requirements like updated labs if the new underwriting review confirms that the person is nicotine-free. The insurance company may adjust the policy to reflect a non-tobacco classification. And this is where timing can really matter, because if someone is close to that 12-month mark or even further along, it makes sense to think about when they apply or whether it's worth revisiting a policy later. Because the cost difference between tobacco and non-tobacco rates can be so large, this is one area where understanding underwriting can really matter a lot. It can impact not just the premium someone pays today, but also the decisions they make about when to apply, which carrier to use, and how to structure the coverage. And it's also a good example of how small details in underwriting can have a big financial impact over time. So I'd be curious to hear your experience with this. Have you seen situations where tobacco, nicotine, or marijuana classification significantly changed someone's life insurance planning? Let us know in the comments below, and we'll see you in the next video. What's up, guys? If you enjoyed this video, please go to our channel and check out the other content and videos that we have posted. We always appreciate a like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next video.